I ended up being late to the crucial CEO inauguration party because I took a woman in a wheelchair who had fallen and injured herself to the hospital.
Helped a woman in a wheelchair. You could have just called an ambulance and headed to the venue. If someone prioritizes society's trash over their work, they'll get fired.
Ken, the CEO, put his arm around my shoulder and said to Ben, the other company CEO, who was about to invest $150 million in our company, laughing, "Firing those who don't work is the right call, isn't it? Paying salary to such useless employees is just foolish. Just a loud mouth with no substance. Really a useless employee." At that moment, that woman in the wheelchair appeared,
calling me society's trash.
Nancy.
The moment I heard that name, I was shocked, remembering what Jesse, Ken's secretary, had told me. I couldn't believe that my actions, which had caused me to be late, would turn into Ken's nightmare. My name is John Aaron. I work at Rowing, Recycling of Happiness Inc., collecting clothes worn by children in the US and toys they no longer use, and donating them to children around the world. I was a member of the photography club during my school days. Wanting to learn about printing, I got a job at a small printing company after graduating from high school. The company mainly took orders online, as home printers and local print shops were still the norm back then. Because of this, there were only 5 employees in our cramped office filled with machines. 5 years had passed since I joined the company. With the spread of smartphones, people of all ages started ordering photo prints online, and the revenue of the printing company I worked for increased significantly. 2 years later, the number of employees exceeded 100, and we expanded our services to include fan merchandise prints and novelty goods for companies. During this time, I fell in love at first sight with a photographer named Kate at an art fair, and we started dating. 6 months later, she got pregnant, and we had a shotgun wedding. Having been an only child, I was quite anxious about having children, but my daughter turned out to be an angel, and we spent our weekends searching for various family events to attend. One Sunday, my wife suggested we attend a sustainable event. While she was busy looking at goods, I walked around with my daughter in my arms. My 2-year-old daughter showed interest in the rowing booth, which displayed sustainable toys and recycled clothing. Reading a pamphlet that contained information about poor children around the world, I was touched by the wonderful slogan, "Connecting dreams from children in the US to children around the world with goods." Since the event was open until late, I gathered my daughter's unused clothes and went back to the row booth to donate them. It was just before the event closed. Afterward, I felt a strong desire to do more for underprivileged children, so I left the printing company where I had worked for 10 years and joined Rowing. David, the president of Rowing, was a person I deeply respected. Despite being the president, he would participate in the planning department meetings I was part of, offering his opinions and even coming up with ideas himself. The company attracted kind people. The atmosphere was so positive that, even in the planning department, we built relationships based on mutual respect rather than rivalry. I truly believed it was my calling. Just when I was getting accustomed to the job, all employees were suddenly gathered and announced by David, "I'm sorry for the sudden notice, but I've decided to volunteer in Africa and start a new venture." Everyone was speechless at such an unexpected turn of events.
Ken, the vice president, will become the new president of rowing.
Perhaps knowing that the employees would try to stop him if he informed them earlier, David quickly finished his farewell and flew to Africa. While still unable to grasp the situation, I was called by the new president, Ken Coleman, led by the secretary, Jesse, to the CEO's office. I found Ken deeply seated on a sofa in a room filled with the smell of cigarette. It was hard to believe it was the same room where David used to be, enveloped in a haze of cigarette smoke, like stepping into a different space altogether.
This weekend, we're having my inauguration party, and I want the planning department to prepare it.
But we've never done something like this before, and we don't know how to arrange it. Ken frowned and glared at me. My legs froze in fear, as if I was in the presence of a mobster. I'm sorry. Please let me do it.
Should have said that from the start. What a pain.
Ken called out to Jesse. Hey. Jesse, now 32, is highly competent. I've heard she's been supporting David since she joined the company as a fresh graduate.
Book the venue today and call the media too. I want my inauguration party to spread across the internet news.
Jesse replied with an awkward smile. Ken's overwhelming attitude made me wonder, did David really leave this man in charge?
John, plan a new project and prepare the documentation by Thursday. We're announcing it to the media, so make it something catchy and innovative.
Thursday, but today's Monday. That's impossible, especially with the party preparations.
What?
Ken's what was the most intimidating and frightening thing I'd ever been told in my life, making me fear I might be fired if I said anything more negative. I shared only the party details with my department, deciding to proceed alone so as not to burden them with the new project. On Wednesday, after pulling an all-nighter to finish the project proposal, I headed to the CEO's office. As usual, the room was filled with the suffocating smell of cigarette, and Jesse looked uncomfortable. I placed the documents in front of Ken and began the presentation. Just at the moment, I began explaining the project of collaborating with a children's book author to create books that easily teach the importance of sustainable practices to children in kindergartens and elementary schools in the U.S. Ken threw the documents on the floor.
This isn't innovative at all. Do it over.
He dismissed a plan without even looking at a page.
Honestly, I don't care about helping kids. Think about what brings in profit for the company.
His statement was shocking. Is this what the president of Row Inc. should be saying? The thought of continuing to work under such a person filled me with despair. As I ate the lunch my wife made, feeling anxious, Jesse sat beside me.
I'm sorry.
Jesse apologized with a look of guilt. Why are you apologizing?
Ken is the worst. I regret not convincing the former president, David, more strongly.
But why was Ken chosen? I don't understand, since I've never worked with him before. Checking no one was around, Jesse began to whisper.
Actually, Ken is the husband of David's younger sister, Nancy. She had to quit her job due to a severe illness at a young age.
It was the first time I heard about David's personal life. Ken apparently struggled with gambling and money.
David hired him, hoping work at Row Inc. would help him straighten out, offering support and a salary.
That's admirable. But to make such a person president.
In recent years, he pretended to be very diligent and enthusiastic about work in front of the president.
So that was it. So, David must have let his guard down because they were family.
At a dinner, Ken passionately spoke about wanting Nancy to receive better treatment and live longer, convincing David, who was thinking of expanding overseas, to entrust rowing to him.
Jessie sighed deeply. Her usual upright posture slumped. With David gone, Ken was already doing as he pleased. The betrayal of kindness was unforgivable, and I worried about the company's future. The day before the CEO's inauguration party, it was Thursday, I took the revised documents and went back to the CEO's office again. Different languages, cultures, and backgrounds, but one thing children have in common is memories with family and friends. Every child has someone important and memories they don't want to forget. My heart was pounding. It felt like my heart was about to jump out of my body. It's a collaboration with photography. We go to countries with impoverished children where photographers take and print their photos as gifts. Suppressing a cough from the cigarette smell, I presented my thoroughly thought-out project. It is inspired by photos my wife took for work the previous night. We'll be using recycled paper for the prints. Clothes and toys might be thrown away as we grow up, but photos remain treasures for a lifetime.
That won't make any money. How are we supposed to generate revenue with this content? You're still as useless as ever, but I guess we'll go with it. Whether we actually do it or not isn't important, right? Give a presentation for it, will you?
I really wanted to shout, "What's important is that we actually do it." But, exhausted from all the all-nighters, I was just relieved that I didn't have to redo the documents and left the CEO's office. On the day of the CEO's inauguration party, I practiced my presentation at the company until the last minute and headed to the venue. I called a cab using an app in time. As I waited for the taxi at the company's entrance, a woman in a wheelchair and a high school-aged boy on a skateboard collided right in front of me. Just as the sound of the wheelchair falling was heard, the taxi arrived. The woman couldn't get up by herself and sat on the ground. I would be late for the party if I didn't take the taxi now. Looking at the boy, his face was pale and he was flustered. When I looked back at the woman, I noticed she had injured her elbow and leg. Witnessing the entire scene, I thought I would regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't help her, so I lifted the woman into the taxi and joined her. Then, the startled boy helped to get the wheelchair into the taxi.
I'm so sorry. Please, I'll pay for the hospital expenses.
Don't worry about it. I'm just not used to going out in a wheelchair, so it's okay.
What a kind woman. In the taxi, I called my colleague, Sherry Garfield, who was preparing at the venue, and spoke about the new project for the first time. I could tell she was upset with me for not consulting her, but she agreed to give a presentation in my place. After sending the woman to the hospital, I rushed to the venue. On stage, Sherry was presenting my plan. After the presentation, the venue erupted in applause, which made me very happy. Then, Ken said with the microphone, this project was her idea. What a great subordinate. I felt bitter that my carefully thought-out plan was credited to Sherry by a single comment from Ken, but I accepted it since being late to the important inauguration party was my responsibility. Then, a man raised his hand. It was Ben Hunt, the president of the printing company I used to work for.
I will provide $150 million in funding for this project. Let's make children around the world smile together.
The venue buzzed. Ken beamed with a smile, shook hands with Ben, and the media surrounded them, taking pictures. I stood frozen at the corner of the venue, overwhelmed by complex emotions and unable to sort out my feelings.
Wasn't this your project, John?
It was Ben. As I was lost in thought, Ben had approached me. I felt a mix of happiness to see Ben after such a long time, and wonder at how he knew it was my idea. As if my pent-up frustrations were spilling out, I shared everything that had happened with Ben. But I really want to do this project.
If you are on the project team, I'm more than happy to invest. Work might be tough at times, but as long as you're acting for the benefit of others, good things will come back to you in different forms.
Ben's words cleared my frustrations, and I was reminded of my initial desire to make children around the world happy, no matter what. After the inauguration speech, everyone was enjoying conversations and meals. I approached Ken, who was happily talking with Ben, and apologized. Then, I explained why I was late for the presentation.
So, my inauguration party was just that trivial to you?
Not at all. I'm truly sorry.
Help the woman in the wheelchair. You could have just called an ambulance and headed to the venue. If someone prioritizes scum of society over their work, they'll get fired.
No, I promise I won't make such a mistake again. Just not firing, please. Ken put his arm around me and turned to Ben, laughing. A person who doesn't work is to be fired, right? Paying such a person is just silly. Always talking back to the boss, really a useless employee. Hearing those words, Ben left the venue without saying anything. I felt ashamed and worthless, having convinced my wife and received support from everyone at the printing company to change jobs for this opportunity, and now having to leave this company as well. Then, the woman in the wheelchair I had taken to the hospital appeared at the venue. Are you okay? In front of Ken, a woman in a wheelchair said, "Am I what you call the scum of society?"
Nancy.
The moment I heard the name Nancy, I remembered the story about Ken's wife that I had heard from the secretary, Jessie. I couldn't believe that this woman was Nancy. Nancy approached me and took out her wallet.
It seems it fell at the entrance of the hospital. When I looked inside, I found my husband's business card, so I thought he might be here. I'm glad you were.
Lately, since everyone uses smartphone payments, I hadn't even realized I'd lost my wallet. Thank you so much for going out of your way. Are you hurt? Nancy smiled and said, "No, I'm okay."
Nancy was the one you helped. I owe you my thanks.
Ken, contrary to his earlier demeanor, smiled at me and expressed his gratitude.
If you've saved my wife, that's a different story. I won't fire you as a thank you.
Ken spoke cheerfully with a drink in his hand, but Nancy didn't look convinced.
That's awful. You just called me the scum of society.
It wasn't about you. It's because he abandoned my important party and acted on his own.
Ken began to speak faster, and sweat was dripping from his forehead. It was the first time I'd seen him so desperate.
I came dressed up because I wanted to celebrate your important inauguration party today.
When I saw Nancy had fallen, I thought, she's wearing a really nice dress. Now it's clear that she had originally intended to attend.
But I fell over after bumping into a boy on a skateboard. I was injured and couldn't get up, so he came to help me.
Her arms and legs were bandaged. I remembered her words, "I'm not used to going out in a wheelchair."
Then you should have gone home.
The words Ken uttered were neither "thank you for coming" nor "are you okay," but something that deeply hurt her feelings.
It's because you're doing something you're not used to.
"Oh, please someone shut him up," I silently screamed, unable to say anything as I had arrived late.
I thought being the president meant you were trusted. I tolerated your attitude at home, thinking you were stressed because you were trying so hard. But
Perhaps he was saying terrible things to Nancy, who was sick. Without changing her expression, Nancy picked up Ken's meal from the table.
What you want to eat?
Nancy threw the plate at Ken with all her might. Pizza sauce stained Ken's shirt.
Hey, what are you doing?
I've had enough. I want a divorce.
A divorce declaration in front of so many people was unexpected. Nancy must have been under a lot of stress to make such a declaration in public.
What? You can live on your own. Don't get cocky. You've lived a life completely dependent on me. Just because of a little criticism, you're talking divorce.
Listening to his typical abusive husband remarks made my heart ache. What kind of life leads someone to say such things?
That's right. I'm ashamed to be dependent on someone like you. Of course, I'm grateful. But more than that, I hate being known as your wife.
Nancy continued talking through her tears. It wasn't just complaints about their marriage life, but about how he had trampled on the feelings of David and defended me.
You've tarnished the company that your brother carefully built up, and now you're firing someone who helped people. You're finished as a human being.
David was kind and valued others more than himself.
Yeah, divorce. I'm not generous enough to support someone who just complains. I have an investor willing to pay me $150 million, so I'm happy to give you a divorce.
Everyone at the venue must have thought, what a prideful person he was. And yet, Ben had said he would invest in the project, not in Ken as a person.
Ungrateful.
Ken took off his wedding ring and placed it on the table. Everything was a mess. Before I knew it, the topic of conversation had shifted to divorce, and I couldn't help but worry, what if Kate has complaints about me too? It puzzled me why Nancy chose such a large venue to bring up divorce, but then I thought maybe she feels so threatened at home that she could only say it here.
Try to change.
It's not me who needs to change. It's you guys who can't meet my expectations.
Nancy was at a loss for words. Of course, she was. Nobody wants to see their husband like this.
You want a divorce, right? Then don't say anything more to me.
I was dying to know why Nancy married Ken. I wanted to ask right away, but now was not the time.
If you keep this up, you'll end up alone.
Be quiet.
Suddenly, in a panic, Jesse rushed to Ken.
Sir,
Jesse handed Ken a smartphone.
it's a disaster. The $150 million deal just fell through.
What?
Ken took the phone, pressing it to his ear.
Hello, Ben. What's going on? Yes.
The room fell silent. Everyone strained their ears, curious about what Ben was saying, but couldn't make it out.
No, my earlier statement was to educate my employees. The planner. That was, Sherry's idea.
Ken, clearly flustered, tried to explain, but then collapsed to his knees as the call ended. Ben, who despises arrogance and dishonesty, might have taken offense to Ken's public disparagement, especially in front of a crowd. But I blamed myself for disappointing Ben, who had been willing to invest $150 million in my project. Yet, if I hadn't stood up for Nancy, then who knows what would have happened.
What now?
Ken sighed, almost laughing.
Hey, John,
He said in an uncharacteristically deep voice, sending shivers down my spine.
you've cost us $150 million. My wife wants a divorce, and look at the mood in this place. What are you going to do about it?
What do I do?
Firing you wouldn't be enough.
Suddenly, I desperately wanted to see my wife and daughter. I might lose everything today. All I could think about was not what to do with this venue, but how I would support my wife and daughter after quitting my job.
So, how are you going to take responsibility?
Am I supposed to pay the $150 million? No, I don't have that kind of money. Should I ask for the divorce to be called off? No, that would be unfair to Nancy. As my mind raced,
This was not my idea.
at the venue, Sherry's voice echoed. Everyone watched as Sherry stood with a microphone in hand. The media began taking photos and recording.
The creator of this project came up with it in just 3 days, while preparing for this party and handling his regular duties. I wasn't even aware that he was planning it, at Ken's request.
Surely she must be angry at me for moving forward with the plan without saying anything. Sherry didn't blame me harshly.
Honestly, I wished he had relied on me more. We're teammates, after all.
I felt terribly sorry to my team.
But the reason he could come up with such an exciting plan in just 3 days is because his mind is always filled with the desire to save children around the world.
I had forgotten in these past few days, caught up in preparing documents. Row Inc. is full of people with pure hearts and kindness.
Prioritizing helping people in town over such a pointless party seems like a no-brainer to me.
Do you want to be fired too?
Now, I'm worried that Sherry won't get fired by Ken. As if prepared for anything, Sherry pointed and glared at Ken.
If working under Ken means crushing someone's goodness, I'd rather quit. No one would want to follow a president like that.
Ken approached the stage, glass in hand, making noise with his steps. He had forgotten he was being filmed, his expression dominated by anger. I rushed to the stage to evacuate Sherry, when
Honestly, I couldn't care less about saving the children. Think about the company's profits.
Ken's voice echoed in the venue. These were the words Ken told me when I first made a presentation. I looked at the corner of the stage. There, Jesse was playing the recorder. The venue buzzed with the shocking content, uncharacteristic of the president of Row Inc. Thinking he couldn't cover it up, Ken stopped just before getting on the stage.
Jesse, what are you doing?
I can't stand it. The head of Row Inc. is constantly hurting people, only thinking of himself.
Using an investment of $150 million, a divorce announcement from his wife, and to top it off, his own heartless words echoing through the venue. The situation seemed so bad for Ken, it was almost pitiful.
Please apologize to everyone.
Me.
If you're the president, take responsibility for ruining this party.
I was surprised by how assertive Jesse was. But it was cool.
Do you enjoy making me the villain?
No, it's the other way around. I don't want you to become any more of a villain.
Ken stopped himself from saying something. The cold stares from everyone in the venue pierced through Ken. He apologized on the spot, his back hunched. The instability was astonishing. He still had some pride left, as he didn't verbally apologize clearly.
John, do you have anything you want to say to Ken?
Honestly, I was so caught up in understanding the situation, I couldn't think of anything to say. Given the mic by Sherry, I hesitated for a moment before speaking, then I said, I love this company, my colleagues who work with me, and our clients who support us. Spending 3 nights straight on document preparation, my wife stayed up late to prepare snacks, and my daughter massaged my shoulders with her tiny hands. It made the tough work feel manageable. I became more appreciative of people. The desire to make someone happy seems to spread to those around you. Today, Sherry saved me when I was late. I looked at Sherry. Her expression, previously furrowed in anger, had softened. Ken, I'm truly sorry for ruining this important party, but as an employee of Rowing, not helping those in need is not an option for me. I believe my daily actions are connected to my work. As I wondered what I want to tell Ken, my mouth seemed to move on its own. I haven't had a deep connection with Ken, having only presented a new project in these 3 days. Anyway, I want to stay at this company. Please revoke my dismissal. Ken, still with head down, didn't look up, engulfing the party in an awkward atmosphere.
No one needs to leave.
David, who was supposed to be in Africa, appeared with a sin-tanned face. His smile alone brightened the entire venue. Ken looked up, puzzled. I got a call from Jesse, and man, was I surprised, laughed David as he approached Ken and sat down on the ground.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? Today is the president's inauguration party. Just as he said that, David grabbed Ken's arm, pulling him up energetically onto the stage.
What are you doing?
Ken looked over the venue. It must look different from when he was comfortably greeting everyone an hour ago.
I'm not fit to be president. I'm sorry.
Ken apologized to everyone in the venue again and left the stage. After that, the party came to an end. While cleaning up the venue, I was approached by David.
John, I am sorry.
I should be the one apologizing. It all happened because I was late. David gathered the employees who were cleaning up the venue.
Thank you, everyone. I think to myself, what a great company this is.
Everyone's faces softened at David's words. David has the power to make people smile with just a few words.
I'll review the system so everyone can work with peace of mind. Just give me some time.
I spoke to Nancy, who was about to get into a taxi. Nancy, why did you marry Ken? Nancy paused for a moment, then said with a shy smile,
Because he seemed strong.
I laughed at the surprisingly simple reason. Maybe I was overthinking it.
But that's no reason to get married. If you misunderstand what it means to be strong, it just becomes violence.
Maybe it's just not knowing how to protect oneself. My spontaneous remark surprised Nancy. People who seem weak get protected by others, but those who appear strong are thought to be okay because they look tough. They're fighting alone. As I spoke, I couldn't help but imagine Ken's childhood. Someone capable of uttering such harsh words must have gone through something in the past. But that's no excuse to hurt others. Nancy held my hand and said, "Thank you." After cleaning up the party, I rushed home. The plan I worked hard on with the help of my wife and daughter fell through. Despite receiving many hugs from my daughter, the various things Ken said still stuck in me like thorns. Words can hurt people. Words can make people happy. Words can change lives. It was a day that made me strongly realize something I had taken for granted. A month later, I'm working lively every day as an employee of Row Inc. In the end, Ken left the company and divorced Nancy. The incident at the party spread through online news, and Ken's intentions were perceived negatively. Jesse, who had worked hard under David, became the president at the young age of 32. Despite various comments from clients and others, we, the employees, are satisfied with Jesse. President Ken, or Ken having lost his job and family, was wandering aimlessly. Feeling sorry for him, David suggested that he join him in volunteer work in Africa. To reach out to Ken, who had hurt his sister and many employees, showed how generous a person David is. I couldn't do something like that. Everyone thought Ken would definitely refuse, but surprisingly, he decided to go to Africa. When Ken visited the company after a long time, his expression was much more peaceful. It's hard to believe that someone who used to be so thorny could become so mellow. After apologizing to everyone, Ken left for Africa. Meanwhile, Sherry, inspired by meeting Nancy at the party, planned a project not for children, but aimed at helping women who struggle to live on their own.
Even men who disrespect women were born from a woman's body.
That's exactly right. And Sherry proposed to David to include Nancy in the project team and got the okay. Nancy used her experiences to speak at talk shows and to post on social media about ways to live happily despite illnesses. Nancy is now smiling at work. Living happily. That's enough. And then Ben decided to fund the project I had planned. With the support of my wife, Kate, I'm working hard as the project leader. It's complicated to think that this project wouldn't have come about without Ken, but I thought I'd thank him the next time we meet. The few days after Ken became president felt like a long nightmare. At the same time, I was filled with gratitude for the many people who saved me from that nightmare. I wonder how many people I can make happy in my lifetime. How many people I can save from nightmares. Believing that my actions today will lead to the happiness of future children, I'll keep working hard today